All right, so today we are back in the shop working on the white. We're just fiddle farting around with it. As you guys seen in the last video, we still had it hooked up through the series parallel switch. So we had to run a push button to the trigger wire on the starter. So we eliminated that, put a 12-volt starter in it, and we got rid of the series parallel switch, and we just wired things up direct. You can't really see. We just got it all taped together and whatnot, and ran our positive to the ground, or to the frame. So it is a positive ground setup, and fuel tank is missing, and we put some fuel on the other side and hooked the lines back up to the filter housing. He's just checking to see, make sure that we're getting power to our fuel solenoid. Is it working, or do I got to turn the key on?
Probably going to turn. Let me take this back off here. I didn't tighten nothing down yet. I'm trying to remember if both these wires were on the solenoid when we took it off or not. Let me get my trusty tester.
So not a whole lot going on today. We got the cover off of the regulator here because pretty sure there was smoke coming out of that last time we tried to fire it. So we are going to be moving this thing out to make some room for another project coming in. So we figured we would just do a cold start. Today it's about, what, below 30s? Something like that.
Probably.
It's been, the shop isn't heated. We just got turbo heaters running to keep us warm, but that's not enough to heat up the engine, obviously. So it's probably gonna be a little smoky since we do have this fuel tank hooked up and there was some old fuel in there. So I guess we'll see what happens. Should I try it without compression release?
I would. I don't. The non-modern day starters, I don't know why they want 24 volt, but
Here goes nothing.
a little smoke. I don't. You know what? Let me maybe pull the compression release out there, let her whirl a little bit, get some fuel pressure.
So now that we got this thing fired up and we're able to run it without having things laying on the ground, we ended up putting a skid on the back just to get the batteries up off the ground, and we got it tied to the forklift. We're gonna drag it out to the door here, and then we're gonna see if we can fire it in gear and see if we can drive it down to its resting place for the time being.
storage end of it for right now, but interesting little story on this. I don't know how many of you have watched the first video of us pulling it out of the salvage yard there with the tractors and everything, but about a week after we put the first video up, I think, I was at the garage at work, and I just happened to be there, and she called me in and she said, there's some guy on the phone wants to know about a truck we towed. And I said, I don't know. And she said, pulled it out of a junkyard. So then that dawned on me what was going on. So I answered, took the call, and it turns out that the gentleman that drove this truck when it was fairly new saw our video, saw the name and the phone number on the tow truck, called to get a hold of us, and when he started explaining some things to me, it all made sense, because he lived in Maine now, but he originally was from New Hampshire, and he drove this truck for an asphalt company, which explained why it had all the asphalt on it that we showed in the other video. And he said when he saw that number 22 on the lubrifiner filter, he called his old boss and told him to check out the Weekend Restoration on YouTube and let him know what you think. So he did, and called the guy back, said, I'll be darned if that isn't Unit 22. So he told me how he drove it, then pulled an asphalt tanker for a while, and it was a tandem back then. And we had speculated before on how the cab had got dinged up in the back. He told me how that happened is one time he wasn't driving it. They were pulling what they call a pug mill for laying asphalt and tar. And it had a conveyor that stuck out over the cab, and this guy went up over a bank a little bit too sharp, and the conveyor bottomed out on the cab and smashed that. So that further told me that this guy was the real deal, and the fact that the guy I bought it off of, he had it in New Hampshire when he lived there, and he had it shipped down here before he put the dump bed on it. So this old gentleman was name was Bob Bradford, and he told me just all kinds of stuff on it about we speculated there was a square hole in the dash. This originally had a tag axle on it, so that's where the tag switch would have been when it was actually it might not have been a tandem, it might have been a single screw with a tag axle on the back, but that's what that was, why that hole was in there. And he said he was going to look up, he had some pictures of when it was fairly new back in the 70s. Well, this was a 64. He drove it in the 70s. He's, I believe, in his late 70s now. And another funny thing about it, I got to, I don't know how many of you out there that watch these have ever checked out or maybe on Dying Breed Diesels on Facebook, but if you ever see any posts, a lot of truck stuff and hot rod stuff by Mike Bradford, that's Robert's son, and he got in contact with me and got me some more information with his dad. So I'm going to get them pictures, and we'll take a couple shots of the picture to show you guys what it looked like back in the day when it was a real working truck. But thought that was pretty neat. The guy was able to track us down clear up in Maine. Just what a crazy thing the internet is. So just wanted to pass that along and add to the story of this restoration, and hopefully we can get it back on the road and let Bob see it cruising down the road, or hopefully he'll see this video and see it cruising at least around the parking lot on its own power. So that's about it.